Hello and welcome to Shought Thorts, the bite-sized interview show where I ask your favourite people in the gaming industry a bunch of somewhat silly questions. My name's DC Bradshaw and my guest today is Ellie Jordan. Thanks for joining me. Okay, well, let's dive in then. For those that don't know you, could you please describe the creative thing or things you do, but only using words of one syllable?
I draw art for games. I think that's all one syllable. Pretty much mostly what I do, yeah.
Accurate, and you managed to stick to the rules, and that is the hardest question. There you go. The worst one is over. Now it's mostly silly from here on out. If you were a pirate captain, what would be the name of your ship?
Okay, so funny story. I used to live on a boat,
Okay.
and the boat was called Mutineer. So I think that's a pretty good pirate.
Yeah, I feel the whole if on this question is kind of superfluous. When you were a pirate, what was the name of your ship?
I wish I was more of a rebel than I actually am.
I'm curious, was it just like a rented like houseboat or something like that? Or
No, it was a sailing yacht, basically. Lived on their sort of early 20s. The plan was to go like sailing a bit. We never really got around to it because to have jobs and stuff. It would have been a good idea otherwise.
well, maybe someday you can live your dreams of piracy and art on the high seas.
Yeah.
What's your favorite mindless fun popcorn movie?
Oh, I do have a soft spot for A Knight's Tale. I think it would probably be like one of the movies I could
Nice.
watch again and again.
Yeah, I've not seen that in so long. It is just fantastic fun, but it's one where, oh no, it's going to be one of the things that kind of show my age on it. You know, when people talk about Heath Ledger, they immediately go to The Dark Knight, which unquestionably is an amazing performance. But the number of people who don't know him from A Knight's Tale or 10 Things I Hate About You, it's like those are, amazing roles.
I saw it in the cinema originally.
I'm trying to remember the year of that. I probably shouldn't. If I look this up, I'll feel myself
No.
age like Matt Damon at the end of Saving Private Ryan. So let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Okie doke. I feel you've got thoughts on the next one. If you could have a miniature version of a mythological or fantasy creature as a pet, what would it be?
Okay, there might be a couple of answers to this. When I was younger, I used to love a series of books called The Dragon Riders by Anne McCaffrey,
Yes.
with some very strange looking dragons that have like giraffe kind of like horns, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. And not only did they have the normal size giant dragons that they could ride, they had like miniature dragons that they called fire lizards. And if you were a very important person, you had your own fire lizard and they sort of like ride around on your shoulder. So I fell in love with that when I was, I don't know, probably like 12 to 14. But recently in a D&D game that I'm DMing with my friends, we've homebrewed a blink ferret, and it's basically it's their pet, so there are no real rules.
I can only imagine the mischief.
And it's bright blue as well. So
Of course. Why not? Why not?
it's a favor. It blinks around and gets into trouble and steals food mostly.
Marvelous. Okay, I simultaneously want one and definitely do not want one at the same time. It would be adorable. Maybe I want someone I know to have one so I can play with it and give it back.
Yes, yeah.
Question 5. What's your favorite swear word or phrase that's not actually swearing?
Oh, so I was a big Red Bull fan, so I used to use Smeg in,
Mm.
I'd say, daily conversation, but I unironically have yelled out Smeg, so that's probably my favorite. I did like, what was it in Farscape Frel as well?
Both of those are really good. I think Smeg was definitely the one that a lot of people's like first, so bowdlerized, but yeah, made up swear word.
Yeah.
And not the first Red Dwarf reference that has appeared on this podcast. Frel was also good, but also Farscape had so many good swear words. Frel was used a lot,
Yeah.
but I remember there was like Dren and
Oh, yeah.
there was I won't use the actual word here. We'll keep it family friendly. But there was a word I think was never actually explained, but I think it was clearly a term for male anatomy,
Oh, okay.
which I think was mivonks.
Oh,
Because I just remember there's some episode where I want to say Rigel maybe uses the phrase "we're frelled, mivonks on a plate, frelled," and it's like that is a very evocative image.
yeah. You're like, oh, that's cool. Wasn't expecting that. You don't see that on Star Trek.
No, but also, I mean, you probably did the same, obviously, as UK based, is I watched on the BBC and then I think, I want to say my brother got them on like, I can't remember if it was VHS or DVD, but got them on some form of media, or maybe watched them on the Sci-Fi Channel and went, Oh, these are edited a lot. There's some scene where they're having their memories erased or something, and there's some oblique reference to, oh, they're going to pull our eyes out again. And I was like, what? What are you talking
Yes.
about? And then you watch on the DVD and go, oh, God, no.
Yeah, same thing happened to me. My friend had them on DVD. We had a Farscape day, and I remember that scene now because I used to wear contact lenses as well. So just like anything with eyes being pulled out.
Okay, let's pivot to something hopefully more wholesome than that. If you had to, or chose to, sing a Disney song at karaoke, what would it be?
If I was being persuaded to sing at a karaoke night, probably would have already had a couple of drinks.
Yep.
So at that point, I would just be like, let it go from Frozen.
Nice.
Let's just go straight in there.
Go big or go home. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And at that point, I'll be like, yeah, I'd be brilliant.
Yeah, obviously, some people drink, some people don't. But if you're doing karaoke, I think people either need to be drinking or to go into that mental state where it doesn't matter that they're not drinking, but it's that slight form of mania where it's like, let's just go nuts.
Yeah, that same like vibe.
Sensible karaoke, no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. If you could have a magical item to make your day-to-day life just a little bit easier, what would it be?
Ooh, anything like a ring or a necklace or something that allows me to teleport.
That is the most popular answer so far. There are some other things you could have, but in terms of convenience, it would be wonderful.
Yes. So I live in a busy city, and at the whims of public transport.
Hmm.
And D&D would be so much easier.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're remote. It would be really great if we're all, bam, right, all the same place. And the fact we're all in the UK. Oh, I'm just going to hop over to the States for the day. That would be nice.
Wow, that would be amazing.
Okay, potentially going more serious here. I don't know. Depends on your answer. What's a book that you think everyone should read?
So I think we're both Discworld fans, aren't we?
Yeah.
Remember you saying so before. So this one, it might not be just one book, that's the problem. So I think towards the end of the Discworld series, especially the Guard series, so something like Night Watch or Thuds are absolutely amazing books, and I've tried to get so many friends to read them. So I'd say probably, yeah, Thuds. But the thing is, I think you probably need to have read at least Guards first to get the character arc of the characters. But yeah, I think I'm a huge Terry Pratchett fan, and I think he's a genius at adding that like really serious commentary under this like veneer of silly jokes. I've reread them so many times that every time I get something new, I've read a couple recently and was just like, oh, I didn't realize he was talking about this when I read it maybe like 10 years ago. Because like I've got older and the world's changed, and it's like, wow.
He was a very, very insightful man. And the fact they said they managed to
Mm.
weave it through satire and general silliness, marvelous. The number of times that my
Yes.
wife and I referenced the Vimes theory of boots,
Yes.
about buying stuff of quality versus buying stuff that's cheap, it is
Yeah.
very, very true. And that is a tiny, tiny little insight
Yeah.
from a very, very clever man who is sadly missed. Okay, what's the creative thing you've made or done that you're most proud of?
Oh, I'd say there was one picture I drew. If you go onto my Twitter or my Instagram, you'll probably see it called The Wild, which is the one most people, when they say they recognize me, they reference it's like the Fey woodland. It's very Studio Ghibli inspired with the wooden mask.
Mm.
And that was probably when I decided to like stop doing what I thought I should be doing and just do what I wanted to do. And then everybody seemed to just really like it. So that was when I was like, okay, I should stop trying to copy these other artists and just really do lean into what I want to do. So I'm probably most proud of that one. There's a few things I'm working on at the moment, which are the TTRPGs that haven't been released, which it's the best work that I've done, and I can't show anyone.
I have not been in that situation. I mean, beyond boring stuff with my day job about the whole NDA thing, but I just see
Yeah.
artists of all kinds saying, I really want to talk about this and I can't.
It's always the thing that you're working on at the moment. Most artists, me anyway, like after a couple of weeks, even if it was an amazing, everyone's like, "Oh, it's really good," you'll hate it. Like most of my artwork that I've drawn, I can't bear to look at because all I see are the mistakes, and it's like, yeah, but this one that's coming out, this new one, that's the best.
I think everyone feels the same. I mean, I definitely do it with writing. I mean, the one thing I've got going for me at this stage is a lot of my stuff right now is digital only.
Oh,
So that actually, if I see a mistake, I can correct it. But that's going to be the worst one for me when I finally get around to doing a Kickstarter for a physical product. Is I'm going to have to proof it so many times. I'm going to hand it to so many people to proof because what I don't want to do is go, it's here, it's magnificent, and there's a typo on the first page.
I used to work in the printers, and yeah, that's if it gets caught at the printers, there's a couple of times we'd like phone the customers and be like, "You sure you should be spelling this like this?" Just to double check.
Well, it's appreciated that you do that, I think, rather than I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, I don't think many do those.
Okay, right. Nearly at the end then. So, finally, and definitely not seriously, could you please tell us your favorite inoffensive, groan-worthy dad joke?
I had to cheat because I love dad jokes, but I'm really bad at remembering them. Where does the ranger keep their arrows? In the monsters.
Oh dear. Groan-worthy and topical, I feel. So, which I think is the first one we've had. I think I've had a lot of, I think, jokes that I could easily imagine being in Christmas crackers. That is the first one that is tied together a variety of themes into one. So, bravo.
Or TTRPG themed Christmas crackers.
It should be done. It should absolutely done.
Yeah.
With maybe like, I don't know, small I mean you get all the stuff, you get the odds and ends and stuff like that, and generally the absolute tut. But I mean obvious things would be dice, but things like getting like a tiny arrow or something like that, or a tiny sword or something, that
Yes.
someone undoubtedly does it. I know
That would be
there are a
cool.
variety of dice makers who do dice advent calendars, but I've not seen Christmas crackers. That might be lethal. I think, if you pull something with gunpowder in it, like a D4 flies across the room,
Oh,
that could
yeah.
be a sudden and unexpected end to Christmas dinner.
Standing up at the emergency room.
Yeah.
How did you? There's a flying D4. God.
Yeah. Okay, maybe scratch that. Maybe it's a terrible idea, but also genius at the same time. Maybe. And that's it. So thank you so much for your time. If folks have enjoyed these slightly ridiculous insights into the brain of Ellie Jordan, where can they find you on the internet?
Probably the best place at the moment because social media
Mm.
at the moment. I think I've joined like 3 different ones in the last couple of months, and I don't know if they'll be there tomorrow. So let's stick with Twitter, X, Twitter. Are we calling it Twitter still?
Well, I think all of us call it Twitter.
And it's now at Fabled Fox Art on Twitter. So it's probably the best place, and I'll have links to everything else on my profile there to find me. It's where I'm the most active.
And all other links will be in the description, so feel free to have a peruse. And thank you out there for watching and or listening to this. I'm DC Bradshaw, and this has been Short Thoughts with Ellie Jordan. Hope you have an amazing day. Take care.